the truth.
So the floor has been heating for, I don't know, 45 minutes while we had lunch. I'm gonna give it a try. Ooh, that is nice. and everybody who's tried it said you can't feel it really until you go back on the wood. And oh my goodness, you're right.
Well, and just like stand on it too. It just radiates up your feet.
Oh, this is good. Wow. Turn me over in half an hour. Once upon a time, a boy met a girl working for a mouse. They fell in love and realized they'd never own their own home working for the mouse. So they packed up a big truck and moved to New Jersey, lived in a basement to save money for a year, and bought a foreclosure to fix up while they lived there. This is their story. The bathroom is well in progress. The walls are up and the mudding is in progress as well. I really thought about this a little bit late though. We decided we wanted to put underfloor heating underneath this tile. We're going to be putting it downstairs in the basement too. So same company I'm working with to do this. This is a thermosoft system. This is called Thermo Tile. And we're going to be putting this underneath our tile. So to do that, the hardest thing about this is to run the thermostat. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a hole here, and I'm going to run a wire off of this. It's a 20 amp circuit. This grid here only uses about 2 amps. So it's basically about as much as 200 watt light bulbs, and that's when it's running full. So the thermostat will only turn it on when it needs it. So in any case, I'm going to put it over here. You can see there's a stud right here. And I'm going to put it over here so I can get a wire from here really easily. And then you got to run it down to come out underneath the baseboard. This is going to be a really good retrofit situation. Now, in where I live, I can use these plastic boxes. These are called old work boxes. And you just cut a hole in the sheetrock and stick it in. Depending upon where you live, you may not be able to use these. You may have to use metal. And if you do, you're probably going to have to open up your wall. Another thing to consider is you may have to use conduit. I'm going to use a flexible conduit. Again, where I live, I don't need to use metal. But if you need to use metal, you might have to open up the wall. That fits right like that. Now this is a 3/4 inch bit, and it is approximately the same size as this, so I want to put a hole in the side here so that I can actually attach conduit to this plastic box. I think that'll work out fine. Beautiful. This is going to fit in here like this. The only problem is I have to cut a little bit more. Whoops. Did it come off? Take 2. Success. Drop the screw. And this is why it's important to be close to wherever you've got an outlet, if you can. What I did here is I ran this wire in through the bottom of the box, and it comes right here, and I connected it to the line side of the GFI, because you could put 2 wires on each screw here. They fit underneath. So I put the black one to the black side, the brass side, The white one is connected to the chrome side, and I put the ground underneath this wire nut, twisted it on, made it nice and tight, and so now this is wired. This little wire will enable me to pull through the heating wire cable later. All right, one thing I need to do before I put the box in is I opened up the thermostat, and in here is the sensor, the temperature sensor. This wire is not supposed to be put in the conduit with the other wire, so I'm going to snake this through separately. In fact, they recommend and gave me an extra one because I guess if something goes wrong with this one, you can always switch over to this one. All right, that's good until I'm ready to install the floor. Before I do anything with this heat mat, including even unroll it, I want to check the resistance. And on the line itself, it says the resistance should be 84.5 ohms, plus or minus 5%. So you need a digital meter, and I set it to 200 ohms. It is now currently at 0. And then you just put it across the black and white leads. And it says 84.6, so that is well within the range that it is supposed to be. Now I can open it up, lay it out, and I will test it again before I put anything on it. Yeah, you're gonna gently just take up the slack as I push it. Okay, that's fine. Good, we turn the corner.
Got it.
Pull it out. 84.6, 84.5. We're still good. Okay. Then I can open it up.
Now this bathroom is about 6 feet long, I would say, and I ordered a 10-foot strip here. This is 1.5 foot wide by 10, and to turn it, you can actually just cut the mesh and just go right around any corners or straighten it however you want. But in front of the toilet, I didn't need the heating element to go under the toilet, so I kind of stretched it out there and circled it around. Now the temperature sensors have to be woven into the mesh, and you just want to keep them in between and away from the heating elements. To adhere the mat down, all I did was use hot glue. I felt that was the best. Tape wasn't working for me, so this really worked well, and it just had to hold it long enough for me to put the thin set down. Now you can go as crazy on this as you want. I just put it in strategic places just to keep it tight, and of course on the ends like this. Now I also used the hot glue to adhere any of the loose wires. These are the temperature sensors, as well as the heating cable wire that had to run to the baseboard. And here you can see the finished layout, and it is ready for the tile.
Alright, let's test it one more time before we begin the tiling. 84.6. Great.
Now the directions recommend using a plastic trowel to put the mortar down so you don't damage the heating cable. I couldn't find a plastic trowel, so I did the next best thing. I put a couple of layers of electrical tape on the sharp edge, and that's the edge that I'm using to smooth out the mortar as I'm making the bed there. And what I chose to do is to use the flat side to apply the mortar, and then I'm going to use the notches on the back of each tile when I back butter them. That's just the way that I chose to do it. You could do it differently. You could put down a mortar bed and then let it dry completely before you put your tile down. There's multiple ways to do it. Now you can also see here that I'm using a tile leveling system. Those are the spacers that I'm putting in between the tiles. I'm also using 1/8 inch as well, because the other ones are not that thick. They're only 16th inch. So the 1/8 inch is the grout line that we actually wanted for this tile. And you can see I'm using a laser level to keep my line nice and straight down the middle of the room. I use that on so many different projects. It is extremely useful. Now the one question I'm sure a lot of people will have is, okay, so on this side of the room I've got the thickness of the heating cable. On the other side of the room I don't. Now isn't that going to make the tile uneven? Well, on that other side of the room is where the toilet goes, as well as the vanity. So nobody's going to be walking on it, number one. But number two, when we do put the mortar bed on that side, we do it exactly the same way, and we try to make it as thick as we did on the side with the heating cable. Ultimately, it worked out fine, and honestly, walking on it, you really can't tell that there's a heating cable on one side and nothing on the other. Now the leveling system, you can see, get these brown wedges, and after the tiles are installed, I put the brown wedges in and I tighten them down with this hand tool. I'll give you a close-up here. They go right in and I just tighten them down, and you can see what it does is it actually pulls the surfaces of the tiles to make them even, so that you don't feel anything and there's nothing uneven when you walk across the tile. Go. Alright, now that the floor is done and grouted, and the shower is done and grouted, it's time to turn my attention back to finish the thermostat installation, which is right here. But the first thing I'm going to do is test the resistance of these wires. Temperature probe 1 is good. Temperature probe 2 is good. And the heating cable is good too. Nothing wrong with it. Perfect. All right, the power is off. All right, that separates the thermostat from the back. All right, so it's clearly labeled. This is the line. That's where the black and the white are going to go. And down here is the load, which is the heating element. That's going to go here. The temperature sensor wire is going to snake through here and connect in there. Now here I'm removing the insulation from the outside of the heating element wire, and that reveals a black and white wire and a ground wire inside. Next I'm trimming the temperature probe wires, and I'm connecting the ground from the heating element to the ground wire coming in from the outlet. There is no ground connection right on the actual thermostat. Right on the back it shows L for line and N for neutral. That's on the line side, so this is the black. The line is black, the neutral is white.
And there is no polarity on the heating element. You could put the white one on either side, the black one on either side, doesn't matter. And that's it for connections. Then just put the safety cover back on. And that's ready to go. Now this has to come through here. This is the hardest part. Maybe I should have put them in ahead of time.
Aww. A few moments later.
It says pick the language. There it is. Everything passed. Press the button on top. Red light goes on. Ground fault is functioning. Fahrenheit. Distributor ID? I don't know.
Eventually.
Okay, what I found, I wound up calling my rep actually, but the distributor ID is right on the box. That is needed for installation. It says it right on it. I just ignored it. I didn't even notice. 10325 is thermosoft. So there you go. Power meter active. Sensor type, yes. Default. What's today's date? Look at that. It's the 22nd. And the time. Laminate tile. All right. I heard a click. Let's see if the floor's getting warm. I don't imagine it's going to warm up quickly. It's going to take time, but once it's up to temperature, it probably won't cycle very often.
1 hour later.
All right, it's about 45 minutes later, and the floor is a toasty 82 degrees. Everybody in the house takes off their shoes, comes in, puts their feet on. It's so nice and warm, and then they walk back out on the hardwood floor, and they're like, oh my gosh, you could feel the difference. So the good news is, it's working. Everything's fine. Now they're going to have years of comfort in this bathroom going forward. I'll put links to everything in the video description below. And thanks for watching, and thanks to Thermosoft for collaborating with me on this video. I'll see you in the next one.
If you'd like to win one of several official Living Flip hats, complete with a HandyDadTV button, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave a comment below. Thanks.